Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Committed Critics, a pop culture podcast where we're not only committed to our opinions, but also each other. Aww.
Aww.
I'm Kevin Lau, and Zachary Wright is not here today. Ryan Davis is also not here today. Ryan Davis was originally going to be here, but then his internet conked out, and now he's not going to be available for the next couple of days. But with me, I have a special guest that you heard say the aw with me. Special guest. Who are you?
Hello, I am Davey. You've heard me before and you'll hear me again.
Oh no!
Wah, 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 wah.
It's the old Kevin versus the new Kevin. So Davey, you can. So on top of whatever you're gonna plug right here at the moment, you're also on our show Monthly Checkpoint with Zach, talking about video games once a month on our Patreon.
Yeah, so for just like $2 a month, you can check out a very good show and also get your name in the credits of this and that show. And that's honestly a good deal. How do I know it? Because I was the first committed critic patron. So I know. I've been here the longest.
Exactly. So if you want to be on the show, pay us. That's how it works.
Yeah, pretty much. And also have been friends with them for like multiple years, but mostly the money thing.
It is mostly the money thing. I'm sorry, Davey. It's just
That's
money
okay.
speaks.
It's fine. Yeah, no, I get it. It's fine. It's whatever.
So outside of Monthly Checkpoint, what else do you do in your spare time? What other shows are you on?
I run the YouTube channel Game Mechanics, where we do video essays on different video games and how we discuss them and their impact on us sociologically. I also do some work for the website oneofus.net, doing movie and TV and geek reviews, things of that nature. I also do some work for the podcast Mission Impossible. And I am co-hosting a show called There's Hope, a Twilight Zone podcast with my friend Doggett. Okay. And I think is that everything? Oh, I'm also a part of a Doki Doki Literature Club Let's Play currently being released on the YouTube channel, the Jams and Tea podcast. I think that's everything. I think that's my whole CV right now.
At the moment, I'm sure there may be like one or two fell in the cracks that maybe I don't even know of, but that's what you're doing now, and it's great. Definitely, I love game mechanics. I've listened to your One of Us shows every now and then when I can fit it in, but for sure, like my go-to is Game Mechanics. That's the one. Like if I'm going to listen to Davey at all, it's this one.
Well, thank you.
But today we're talking about something that's sort of video game related. Today we're talking about the 10th anniversary of the Scott Pilgrim movie. The film, directed by Edgar Wright and co-written by him, released on August 13th in 2010. This episode, I believe, is releasing August 18th in 2021. Wait a second, I'm getting my math wrong. Maybe it's 2011 it released.
No, you're correct. So there was going to be a whole 10th anniversary spectacular in August of last year. However, due to Rona and everything, it got pushed back. So
the actual this is actually the 11th anniversary. So 11 years of Scott Pilgrim. I'm going to change that title right now.
It's technically 11 years, but I've seen, because it got the big remaster and re-release in theaters at the beginning of this year, so this year is kind of functioning as a sort of 10th anniversary. So I think it works
for sure. Time is weird when you're in a panini, that's for sure.
Yep.
But yeah, so 10 or 11 years depending on what timeline you're from. Scott Pilgrim has entered the foray with a big movie theater release that flopped, unfortunately, but then it became a cult classic as it went on. It had like a little video game that was on Xbox Live Arcade, but then, it was taken down, but now it came back as a re-release in physical as well through limited run games. And the comics have been like repurposed, as in like collecting, instead of 6 volumes, it is now in 3 volumes altogether. The movie itself is getting a 4K re-release, and it also had a little bit of a theater run as well in Dolby Atmos. if I remember correctly.
Yep. All very correct, all very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Oh, I
love
think they
all of
also
these
did like
things.
a cast reading as well, like a Zoom cast reading.
Yes, yes. Last year in August, they put together an almost full reunion reading, and it was a delight.
Mm-hmm. But going back in time a bit, Davey, how were you introduced to the Scott Pilgrim, either comic book or movie, game? Like which one was it? Which one was it first, and who got you into it, and why did you stick with it?
So what got me into, so for the record, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is my favorite movie, like
Mm-hmm.
of all time. So in April of 2010, I was on on my parents' computer, or like on
Oh,
the computer that I was using, and I
the
was
family
just browsing
computer.
on iTunes because I like movies, and I saw in the little corner when they used to have like iTunes trailers, for this bright orange colorful poster, and I was like, yeah, sure, that looks cool. I'll watch the trailer for that. And I saw 2.5 minutes of the craziest shit I had ever seen in my entire life. And I was like, I'm gonna see this movie. And then it got rated and it was PG-13, and I said, I'm gonna see this movie. And so I told
Mm.
my parents, I was like, I'm gonna see this movie. And it came out August 13th, 2010.
You go up to the person working box office. You're like, I'm gonna see this movie, and they just look at you like, what movie? This movie.
Well, so after bugging my dad for months about it,
Mm-hmm.
it came out the weekend before school started, my seventh grade
Nice.
year. So August 12th, 2010, the midnight showing at the Regal Green Hills Theater in Nashville, Tennessee. My my dad drove me there as like a end of summer extravaganza thing. We went there, we sat in the theater. I was the only person under the age of 30 in that auditorium,
Nice.
and I got my mind blown. And for the past 11 years, it has been my favorite movie.
Nice. Yeah. So you definitely had a way more interesting way of getting into it than I did. In fact, you got into it way earlier than I did. I was, I believe, 18 years old when I watched Scott Pilgrim. And for reference, I was born in 96. So you do the math on that one because I don't remember the exact year. Um, so Scott Pilgrim versus the World was a cultural icon that I've heard about and I've known about for a bit. Like I've seen the trailer, I've seen clips of it before. I just never actually watched the movie. And then like one day I was at like this used secondhand Blu-ray DVD store, and it was like they had Scott Pilgrim on Blu-ray for $3.99. It was like, you know what? I'm gonna finally see this movie. So I grabbed it, bought it, went home, watched it that night, and man, did I love it. I was like, I had no idea what to expect, except for like, Michael Cera's in it. He's kind of a goofy looking guy. That's what I thought at the time. And then, I was blown away by the performances, blown away by the music, blown away by the visual effects and the directing style and the editing. Ooh, the editing, so good. And just the overall just writing and then how it created like such a strong character arc for Scott Pilgrim, who is one of the worst people in that movie, morally as a person. But then he has his own redemption arc, and and it's such a strong character arc that speaks to everyone. About how about learning to respect yourself and love yourself before you're able to love other people. I guess spoilers. I mean, this movie's 11 years old or 10 years old, depending if you're from the northern or southern hemisphere. I guess that's how time works, right? And there's
Sure.
the toilet flushes the other way in the other timelines. This movie is just a lot of fun. And very solid, and it's one of those movies that's super rewatchable too, because it's how energetic it is. Like it is a movie that you can turn on and have it play in the background, and you're still getting the full story, and it's just so engaging. I don't know how if you felt the same way about that, Davey.
I mean, it's almost hard for me to talk about at this point because it is just the movie that has been there for me for so much of my life. Almost next year, it'll be for half of my life. Will have been with this movie at the top of my list. I've seen it 50 times, I want to say. I've read through all of the comics multiple times. I've played the game multiple times. That limited run, a special edition of of the video game is coming soon. I think it's finally getting to me in like Q4 of this year because I got the super expensive giant edition.
Yeah, I saw them tweet about it. It's like, we're getting it ready, and it occurred to me like, oh, Davey doesn't have his copy yet. I just got the basic edition. I've had that for a while now.
Yeah, no, I'm still playing it on my Xbox 360 because that's where I still have it.
Well, now that the game is out, the 360 just dropped in value.
Yeah, that's true. now the only special rare game is a PS4 with PT on it. Watch our game mechanics videos about delisted games for more on that.
Yeah, great episode.
Dankeschön.
Is Flappy Bird still valuable? Do you know that?
I think it is a little bit, but there are so many clones at this point that it doesn't really have the same staying power.
Yeah,
on a financial level. But back to this movie, this is what the inside of my brain feels like.
Yeah, that's fair.
It is chaotic and insane, and it is choked to the brim with references that nobody cares about. There is a moment near the end of the second act after the fight with the Kariyanagi twins where Scott sees Gideon, G-Man, the big bad of the film, so to speak, in the crowd with Ramona, and his ring flashes a little bit, and it's a Flash Gordon sound effect, just because this movie is literally 1 hour and 51 minutes of just pure energy. So many things go on, so many things are happening. It is... There's a famous story of Edgar Wright wanting to use some music from the Legend of Zelda series in the movie. And he wrote a letter to Shigeru Miyamoto saying that the music in those titles is like the lullaby of his generation, to which Miyamoto accepted and said, absolutely, you can use them.
Nice.
And it's just little touches like that make this so different from something else that it often seems to get compared to, something like Pixels.
I was going to say
which is
Pixels.
which is another supposed celebration of video games and geek culture and how there is value in these things that we love. But here it is so genuine and so earnest and so unashamed to be dorky and be weird. This is a romantic comedy that's also an action movie that's structured like a musical and is also kind of about how this piece of shit grows up as a human being. And I just love it.
Yeah.
So much. This is... It's my happy movie. This movie has gotten me through so much and has kept me afloat during some very difficult aspects of my life. It's one of the best cast movies I've ever seen.
Oh yeah.
Just because so many of the actors would then go on to be extremely, extremely famous.
Oh yeah. Like Mary Elizabeth Winstead, just to name one. You know, she was a Huntress in the Birds of Prey movie. She was also in 10 Cloverfield Lane. She was in another big movie recently too, or maybe it was just recently announced, but she's in stuff, that's for sure.
Yeah, she's in stuff. They're all in stuff. You got Anna Kendrick, Brie Larson, Aubrey Plaza, Chris Evans, Brandon Routh, Kieran Culkin, Mae Whitman, Allison Pill. Like, the cast list is huge.
You cannot make the movie with the same cast for the same price today.
Oh no, this would cost about 3 times as much money.
Definitely. Oh man. On that note, we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna talk more about Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and just more fun facts, and maybe a little funny things on the side. We'll find out. See you in a bit. Starting a podcast? Try a Podbean Unlimited hosting plan. It's what we use here at Committed Critics, giving us the opportunity to have our show on Pandora, iHeartRadio, and even Spotify. You can get your first month of unlimited hosting for free on us by going to podbean.com/committedcrits, just like our Twitter, or by clicking the link in the description. Podbean, the easiest, most affordable option to get started in podcasting.
Don't you wish there was a pop culture review site that appealed to cinephiles, both professional and casual? Well, look no further than crpwrites.com. New content such as movie and TV reviews, film essays, and more are released every week by writers who crave for movies like every moviegoer craves for popcorn. CRP Writes is dedicated to making sure no one is wasting time or money where they shouldn't be. After all, you have to be able to buy your popcorn and eat it too. crpwrites.com. Casual reviews with purpose since 2018.
And welcome back to Committed Critics as we continue to talk about Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the movie where, and this is a tweet I'm quoting, made an entire generation of men undateable. Which makes sense. But
yeah,
hopefully we're not part of that.
Well, no, I'm in a happy, committed, loving relationship. So
that's good. I'm not in any, so that's unfortunate for me. But okay.
I forget. Am I allowed to say the F word?
I'll censor it. So yes.
F you, tweet.
Yeah. But that is definitely a movie I feel like a lot of people would misread and misinterpret, and kind of like use it to fuel their own toxic personality. It's not that that's what the movie's intention is. The movie's intention is purely like, this is a shitty person. This is him learning to become a better person. It's for the betterment of everyone around him. There's, it's not like another movie, not to taint the reputation of Scott Pilgrim, but like similar, like it's not like Joker, where Joker is a movie that is filled with that toxic personality, and then the toxic people kind of gravitate towards it and to kind of like, justify their own toxicity. I feel like I'm using the word toxic a lot, but
like it makes sense.
Yeah. But Scott Pilgrim versus the World, like I said, there are people. I'm very certain there are people that misread the movie to fuel their own agenda, but it is not that movie.
100%, and it's not even that it's particularly subtle about it. Like even looking at other like film bro movies, something like Fight Club. Fight Club, while being a very non-subtle movie, is much more subtle than this movie is, to the point where at the end of the movie, Scott Pilgrim has to fight the negative alternate universe evil version of himself, and it turns out he's just a really chill dude.
Yeah.
So yeah, this guy sucks. That's the whole point of that joke. And it's understandable when you're like 12 or 13 to not totally get that this person shouldn't be someone you look up to. It's the same thing as something like 500 Days of Summer. But if you're an adult and you think that this movie is lionizing Scott's behavior and that you should recreate it, you're stupid.
It definitely is not a movie that needs to be remade. The point it gets across very well, and everything. The visuals are very still strong and will stay strong, I think, for a while.
Yeah,
it is not a movie I look at. It's like, oh, that's very 2010. It's like, no, this feels like almost timeless. And the visual effects, they're made to be cartoony and video gamey, so that helps it stay more relevant than like Rise of the Planets of the Apes, which tries to be photorealistic, but then in 5 years you look back and it's like, oh, that definitely looks like CGI. I don't know how I didn't notice that before. It's don't remake Scott Pilgrim. That's it. Hashtag don't remake it.
And no one ever will, because this movie made like $4.
Yeah.
I mean, it did eventually turn a profit with like DVD sales and everything, but like it took a long time before the tax cuts or like the tax rebates that they got. This movie cost like around $100 million adjusted for inflation, and it did not make that much.
Not even close.
This opened in 5th place, opening up against The Expendables and Eat, Pray, Love, 2 movies that nobody has thought about in a very long time.
Mm-hmm. We don't mention Eat, Pray, Love on this show. Not that I've seen it or read it or anything. It's just no one talks about it at all. The Expendables, at least I hear a little bit of. But yeah, Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I'm not looking at the numbers, but I do remember, I remember looking it up before. I believe it made $18 million total out of its $100 million budget.
In North America. It did a little bit better worldwide. I think it got around to like 40 to 50 million worldwide. But yeah, that opening weekend, I believe it made $10 million. And just the deflation in the nerd online circles that weekend was really palatable, because everyone who watched it was like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. And it got no love from anybody, which sucks, but like, I get it. This is a weird niche movie made for weird niche people. And the fact that it got a big enough budget and enough pedigree to be made in the first place is a bit of a minor miracle.
Yeah. It's one of those things where just like, you look at it like, how did this get through the Hollywood system? Like,
yeah, Universal made this.
Yeah. The
Minions people.
Well, oh wait, no, this was after Despicable Me, because Despicable Me came out 2008?
In like June of 2010.
Oh, true, yeah. This is when they were getting ready to make Jurassic World. Man, they took a risk on this one. Didn't pay off, but
it didn't pay off, but they made a cultural touchstone that is just growing and growing in popularity. It is, at this point, it is a financial success for them.
Right.
And I think it's a wonderful... definitely.
I've made friends that who have not seen the movie. I'm just like, oh, you got to see this movie. And then like I show it to them, they're just like, that was one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. There's, I even though I bought the Blu-ray used, I didn't help the situation of them not making money off the movie. But I did eventually buy the Steelbook. That was I forgot what store it is. It's some like exclusive steelbook that was like yellow, had the art from the Brian Lee O'Malley who did the comic book. I have read the comic book through my local library, and I also have the card game as well, and the video game on Nintendo Switch. So I still support the movie, and the movie is like a multimedia thing, like there's the comic book, there's the movie, which tells the same story but different. Then there's the video game, same story but different. Then there's the cooperative card game, same story but different. There's some. It is for some reason like this specific plot is being able to be adapted in multiple mediums perfectly. Like, no matter which medium you experience the story in, you still experience the full story of like, yes, Scott wants to date Ramona, but Scott needs to overcome his evil inner demons and Ramona's evil exes to win her love. Then discovers that he needs to first love himself before he can love other people. And you get it. It's just so straightforward.
Yeah, it's simple, it's easy. And it structurally works so well with all of these different avenues. It has that really clear, concise 3-act structure. It's easily broken up into the 6 different fights. one for each of the evil exes, but 5 and 6, being the Kariyanagi twins, are stuck together. So that structures it super well for a video game or for the comic book. It's a bit of a structural marvel how well it works in basically any major medium that it tries to tackle. This is because at the core of it, it is just a love story. It is just boy meets girl, boy has to overcome challenge. That's it. It's universal, pun intended.
So which medium do you prefer? Like, do you prefer the comic, or do you prefer the movie? Do you prefer the video game? Like, which one is your go-to favorite?
I mean, it has to be the movie. The movie is what got me into this. And it's one of my biggest inspirations and one of the biggest things that has pushed me forward in my life and in my future career decisions. There are a few things that have meant as much to me as the movie. Do I love the comic? Absolutely. Do I love the video game? Absolutely. Do I love the soundtracks? Yes, I own all of them. I own the sound. I own the soundtrack. I own the score. I own the video game soundtrack by Anamanaguchi. But it's got to be the movie. I've spent so much time with those frames. I have a birthday gift I got from my girlfriend was the average color of every like shot and scene in the movie.
Oh.
Put on like this beautiful printed gradient.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Like, it's, just like a bunch of colored lines kind of squished together.
Yeah, and I was able to look at it and be like, oh, I know that scene. I know which scene that is just from the colors that it was using and like where it was on the timeline. Like,
yeah, because each scene has its own color grade, has its own light setup. Everyone has very like the costumes in Scott Pilgrim vs. World, and then like Edgar Wright does this with all of his movies, where the wardrobe is he wants the characters to be have a very simple wardrobe where someone could draw them from memory, and it's very much the case here in the movie in Scott Pilgrim as well.
Yeah, I mean this movie just means so much to me. I love it so much. What about you, Kevin? What is your preferred way of injecting Scott Pilgrim's precious little life directly into your eye holes?
Well, I'm the same as you. The movie got me into it. So like I think the movie is from my experience the best way to perceive the story, because one, it's the shortest. So only an hour and 50 minutes, and you get you get full sensory experience of sight and sound. I did read the comic. I read it through once. I didn't really care for it that much. Like, I liked it. It is a good comic. I think the movie did it better because there's a lot of threads in the comic that go nowhere, and then the final volume feels very disjointed from the rest of it. Then again, like, this is me from walking in from like the movie first and then the comic book second. And then now, Scott Pilgrim comic book fans are just going to roast me on Twitter or something. So, I'll just give them a fake Twitter handle to tweet me at. So it's fine.
Yeah. Go to the fake Twitter handle, K to the Lau.
Exactly.
And just roast this man. And once you're done roasting,
take a look at yourself in the mirror and see if you really are who you want to be. Maybe you need to learn earn the power of self-respect, or fight the negative version of yourself, which turns out to be a really cool dude and supports us on Patreon.
Yeah, and if you subscribe on Patreon, there's a new show where we all just bully Kevin for 45 minutes, but that's at the $5 a month tier.
Yep.
So you gotta, if you want to join in on the bullying, you can do that. I'm bad at ad reads.
Hey, join us on Patreon to watch Kevin get his shit kicked in. Once a month, $5. Coming right up, $5, taking tickets. And
then you get some free jalapeno poppers.
Oh, whoa. For only $5.
Mulligan joke I stole.
Free for $5. But yeah, I mean, obviously, Scott Pilgrim is your favorite movie. So if I were to ask you to rate it, I would assuming you would give it a 5 out of 5, right?
6 out of 5, 11 out of 10. I love this stupid movie so much.
Masterpiece.
Masterpiece.
It definitely in my top 5 favorite movies. So, and those are all 5 out of 5. So once again, 5 out of 5 for Scott Pilgrim versus the World. But so yeah, as we close on out, any final thoughts, Davey?
If you haven't seen the movie, watch it. There's a very real chance it might not be for you. I know some people, like my girlfriend, who it's not for them, but they still appreciate the craftsmanship and they understand why it matters so much to me.
And it is okay if you don't like it. We're not going to be like, you're a dumb person that doesn't know how to watch movies. Unless you're like, you watched it backwards and then you're just like, this movie makes no sense when you watch it backwards. I'm like, well, you're not supposed to watch it backwards.
Yeah, calm down there, Memento. The only way to truly misread this movie is to think that it is telling you to be more like Scott.
Yeah, or, that veganism is bad. I guess that's another misinterpretation.
Yeah, that's true. Because there's nothing wrong with veganism. It's wrong to peddle ideas that you don't actually follow and expect there to be no consequences from them.
Mm-hmm. On that note, Davey, where can people find you at?
You can find me on Twitter at Davey Peppers. You can find me on TikTok at Davey Peppers. You can find me on the YouTube channel Game Mechanics, as well as all of the other things that I mentioned previously, including the Committed Critics Patreon exclusive show Monthly Checkpoint, where myself and Zach play a video game every month. We recently just did an episode on Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, and we are now working towards a new episode on the original Half-Life, so check that out.
Ooh, Half-Life, the game that gave me motion sickness.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about that at some point because that's something I have never experienced with Half-Life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about it after the show. Patreon exclusive. No, just kidding. So you can follow Davey at Davey Peppers. So that is DAVEYPEPPERS. I believe you have a website that is just daveypeppers.com.
Oh, yes, I also have that. I need to update that, actually.
Change it to Pavey Deppers. Pavey.
Yeah, no, that's my alter ego. That's Nega Davey.
He paves the way for all the Deppers of the world. This has been Committed Critics. You can follow us on Twitter at Committed Crits. That's COMMITTED0ITS. You can follow us on YouTube at Committed Critics, spelled the same there, and it is here and everywhere else. So you can support us on Patreon and link below. And as Davey and I mentioned throughout this entire episode, there's exclusive content on there that you can unlock for just $1, $2, and $5 tiers. Special thanks to our current patrons, Davey Peppers from Game Mechanics.
You're welcome. Hi.
Ryan Kolakowski from Ryan Plays Drums. Andy Phillips from Andy Phillips, spelled with 2 L's, not 1. And Jody Wright. Special thanks to our sound engineer, Jordan Smearman, for creating our theme and being our sound engineer. I said that twice, but hey, she's doing the sound engineer so nice that I'll credit her twice. And we will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.